And welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 4949, one away from the big 5-0. And today we're going to start this show, and it'll be pretty much the whole show the same way our first show was. Super Bowl 57 preview coming your way. Like I just said, our very first show ever was a Super Bowl preview, and that's where we are right now in the football calendar. And me and Luke both excited not only to talk about this game, but props as well, and obviously our final picks. We'll also throw in our Show Me Show Fantasy Corner, the finale for the 2022-2023 football season. And, that's about it. Going to be pretty much a strictly football-ish show, and hopefully next week we'll get into some other stuff. But football, last football Sunday, NFL football Sunday for a very, very long time. Very sad, but that's just how football is. Has to come to an end, at least the NFL. We're going to go ahead and get right into the show, and we're going to start off with just talking about some of our Super Bowl notes here to kind of introduce you to the game here. Like I said, Super Bowl 57, obviously, Chiefs and Eagles. That's where we are in Glendale, Arizona, the Cardinals Stadium. And
kind of an ugly stadium.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's an ugly stadium, but the first note that I have here, Luke, is this is quite possibly the ugliest looking Super Bowl field that I have seen. And I think it's definitely the ugliest since we've both been alive. This one,
yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
It's a mash of two greens. So you have the regular field grass, which we've talked about in the past at the stadium can be in very poor conditions at times. But not disregarding that. So you have the green grass, and then in one end zone, you have the Eagles end zone, which is a dark green, which is just much more different shade than the grass. And then you have this multicolored Super Bowl 57 logo, which is normal on the field as well. And then this is where it really gets gross. We have a all mustard yellow Chiefs end zone, which is where it really gets gross. And then on the sideline as well, the Chiefs sideline has been painted mustard yellow as well. And with the red backdrop of Phoenix Stadium, it's a gross sight to see. So, when you think about Super Bowl and, a game like this, you think of games and sceneries like the Rose Bowl and stuff like that. You want it to be easy on the eyes, Luke, appealing to the eyes. And the color matchup isn't like it's unappealing to the eyes. It's practically Christmas. But the field, Luke, it kind of looks like throw up in some spots. So that's the first
and
Super Bowl note.
Just overall, the field looks bad, but the stadium itself is really bad. It holds the second least amount of, I guess, people. It has the second lowest attendance percentage rate in the NFL. So I think it holds 63,000 people, which is the second lowest behind. I don't know what the first one is, but it's the second lowest. I know that for sure. So it doesn't. It holds no people in comparison to the other stadiums. So that sucks as well. And it's not a quality stadium at all. Literally, they're having a hard time getting a head coach there because the facilities are so bad. Sean Payton literally would not come there because the facilities were that bad. And then not only that, but they're putting the Super Bowl here. So it's just a very interesting location. And I did a little research because I was curious this week. I was like, why in the hell did they pick this location? Because it just seems like a terrible spot to do. The facility's bad, low attendance rating. It's not like a super populated area or vacation spot like Miami or LA or something like that. Why Arizona? So I looked up. The committee that picks it, they pick off temperature. So if you notice, like all the Super Bowls are L.A., Miami, New Orleans, Dallas has had one, Houston has had one, Atlanta, and then the outlier is U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. But I would assume that's because it's an all indoor stadium, so they can just
Well,
pump heat into it.
they've also had it at MetLife multiple times. That's a real.
That's true. They have had it at MetLife, but that's also New York, so maybe they make an exception for New York. But so they basically pick it off temperature, which is really stupid in my opinion. That's not true football guy move by the NFL. But so just an interesting little tidbit there about how they picked the field and how they landed on Arizona. I don't like it. So I think that's going to lead to an ugly game myself. I think it's a precursor for how this game's going to go. There's going to be some ugly stuff going on. Probably ugly officiating too. As we mentioned last week, Carl Cheffers, he's going to be on the lead. He's going to be in the white cap, and his crew leads the NFL in flags thrown this year. So this has a chance to get really, really ugly very fast, and that's not good for the NFL. But I don't really care. The NFL's got enough going for them their way, so they have a bad look.
I'll say this. I don't think Phoenix Stadium, I don't think it's a bad venue. And I know you said the capacity is low, but usually in terms of NFL stadiums, the capacity is much lower than all college stadiums for the most part. But capacity is lower, but that's because they have these huge-ass jumbotrons in Phoenix Stadium, which if you remember, jumbotrons is a big driver for NFL stadiums. In fact, that's why one of the main reasons they moved out of the Edwards Jones Dome is because the jumbotrons there were pretty bad. But they have, big technology there at Phoenix Stadium. But yeah, the venue, like Luke said, it's not a destination vacation spot entirely unless you're just going out there to hike and stuff. Other than that, it's really not, because it's so hot and dry, and there's just not a whole lot there because it's a desert. I mean, that's what it is. It's the Super Bowl in the desert, kind of like Qatar. But obviously not killing people. But, well, you never know, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, so maybe not the greatest venue, but they have had some legendary games there, I think, haven't they? I think that's where Malcolm Butler picked off Russell Wilson as well, and I'm blanking on another Super Bowl that was there. But so yeah, it's not the first time they've hosted it. That is interesting that you pointed out that it's based on weather, but that also makes sense when people have to fork out thousands of dollars to get a seat. They probably want to go somewhere warm like Tampa Bay or Houston or Miami. So
yeah. So I'm looking right now, and what was it, State Farm? Or I guess it used to be University of Phoenix Stadium. So that was the Malcolm Butler game. And then the other one you're blanking on was when the Giants David Tyree had the helmet catch and ended the Patriots' perfect season in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it was a pretty new stadium.
So basically, if history tells us, this is going to be a great game. I said it's going to be an ugly game, but it's going to be a close game that comes down to the wire. That's what history's telling us. So,
yeah, and if you
classic moment.
If you want to throw in another classic bowl game in there from just this year, TCU Michigan, great bowl game that was played there. So yeah, maybe it's is actually a precursor for a good game. So Luke was just talking about of the stadium.
Oh.
State Farm Stadium, and the number one spokesperson for State Farm, Luke, Patrick Mahomes. So,
I thought you were going to say Aaron Rodgers.
No, he's going into the dark. So, their number one spokesperson now is Patrick Mahomes. So, he'll get to play in his own stadium, so to speak. Interesting tidbit there. We'll see if that pays off for him. What were you going to say just a moment ago?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, okay.
Just a random thought I had. No need to say it.
One thing that me and Luke pointed out, I think it was either last week or maybe it was the week before that, probably 2 weeks ago. This is probably the best fan matchup that we could have hoped for coming out of the championship Sunday games, because obviously our obvious choice would have been Bills versus Eagles, but that was the divisional loss that the Bills had. So we did get the best set of fans in terms of rowdiness for this one. Obviously, the Eagles play no matter what. And the Chiefs fans, we've kind of learned a little bit about them over the past couple of years, especially us being from Missouri, learning about their rowdiness as of late. So that's good. That
The super fans.
Yeah, and the super fans, which we'll get to right here. Chiefs-aholic, one of the biggest super fans for the Chiefs. Widely known amongst Chiefs Nation. He's out from behind bars for robbing a bank that was unsuccessful, but he actually had robbed others that was successful. But Chiefs-aholic, he's out from behind bars, Luke. And the thing is, they didn't lose a single game while he was behind bars. And some Chiefs fans are starting to say that he probably should have just stayed behind bars just in case.
I agree.
And I'm kind of with you. I kind of tend to agree with them because you're on this hot streak, and if you are a true super fan, you kind of just ride the good juju. And I think he probably should have stayed behind bars, but nope, he's out. And I think if they win the Super Bowl, Luke, do you remember how much he gets? I think it's like $200,000, right? He has a bet on the Chiefs.
Because of his bet?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's thousands upon thousands of dollars. So
he'll be pretty set, I think, if they win this game. But
mm-hmm.
Another interesting thing there. And then on the flip side of that, I've heard that some Philly fans are thinking about putting a Patrick Mahomes jersey on the Rocky statue because they are undefeated when opposing fans decorate the statue. But for some reason, Luke, I feel like that could be, no pun intended, bad juju, because it wouldn't be an opposing fan putting it on the statue. It would be themselves.
Exactly. So it's like an imposter.
Do that.
It's not the same.
I think.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that. That would kind of defeat the purpose.
Yeah, I feel like that could actually have. That might be, and we'll kind of get to this later with our picks, but that might be the only way the Chiefs can win, is if the Eagles fans decorate the Rocky statue with the Mahomes jersey themselves.
I don't know. I don't know about that. The Chiefs can win in more ways than that. They're a good enough team, but that would definitely give them a huge boost if that were to happen.
It would.
So.
It would.
I don't want to put the game on something so insignificant like that, but it's not really insignificant to the city of Philadelphia. So,
it's not.
You have to take in those factors.
It's not really insignificant when you look at the stats, though, Luke. I mean, each time the opposing team, but the key word here is opposing team. It has to be like an opposing fan to do this. I just don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can't deface their own statue. That has just got bad news written all over it. And that's why I don't think they're going to go through with it. But I did see rumors about that.
That might put a curse on the city if they were to do that, like for years to come.
Yeah.
Like because Philadelphia right now, they're kind of on a championship losing streak, if that makes any sense. So their soccer team lost in the final. The Phillies lost in the final. Now here the Eagles are. If they were to do that, they might just have a curse of they will never win a championship, which, for the infrastructure of Philadelphia, that would actually be very beneficial. But for the fans and their happiness, not. So
I know this is a little off topic, but I feel like, Luke, do you think if the Eagles lose, are the Sixers a guaranteed make it to the NBA Finals for once? Only to lose?
No, the Celtics. Celtics.
That would be so tempting.
Honestly, I feel like Sixers fans would take that, though. Sixers fans have been through
over the
so
hump.
much. I think they would take a finals loss.
Yeah, getting over the hump and getting there.
Just to get
I
there.
agree with that. But yeah, we're going to get into a little bit more football-y, more knowledgeable stuff about the game that will launch some talking points.
Real stuff.
Luke. So yeah, and I think some of the first things for me and you to look at here and to analyze, because me and you have both talked about this for a little bit, is, how hurt is Mahomes with the ankle? He's had 2 weeks, but how much healing do you really do when you're still doing Super Bowl prep? And then how about Hurts? Because he had that one drive against the 49ers where he kind of just started running it all over the place. But other than that, he's also been limited in the run game. And it at the end of the day, it's a talking point. It's also just only time will tell. Once we get there, we'll get there. Because like we said, they've had 2 weeks to heal. But like I said, how much healing is really done when you have to prepare for the Super Bowl? You're on it. You're running through all your game stuff like it's your last few practices because, there is nothing after this. You got to go balls to the wall even in practice for the Super Bowl. Now, they're not drilling each other. It's probably a lot of non-contact stuff in some sense, but ankles and at least for Hurts, it's all upper body, it seems. So, but he still has to sling the rock, so I'm sure that hurts like a bitch. And Mahomes has to run all over the place on his ankle. I'll be honest. I think
both of those
fine, and I just don't think Hurts is going to run as much. I think I think he'll be fine too. He's proved that he can pass the football, but I just don't think he's going to run around as much.
Yeah, I think both these guys are both tough. They're extremely tough. They're not going to show that they're injured, even if they are. They're going to go out there, and it's the Super Bowl. You have to lay it out all on the line. And I think these guys are going to put the injuries in the back of their head, and they're not going to think about them unless they really mess something up. So, I think they'll be fine. I don't think we will have to worry about those injuries popping up in this game, and I certainly hope we don't either.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, because if one of these guys goes down for either team, you know what? Both teams have good backup quarterbacks, and that's usually true for all Super Bowl teams. It always turns out that they have a good backup quarterback. But honestly, Luke, as of late, I think I might actually take Henne over Minshew in terms of who's the better backup if one of these guys goes down. But, if Mahomes goes down, it's over. It's Mahover. If Hurts goes down, that's the one I'd be interested about. I know I just said Henne is probably better than Minshew, but, I just feel like the Eagles can run the ball so damn well. But hopefully neither of them get hurt. And we'll move on here to the next thing here. This is just my pick. We'll have Luke take his take on it as well. But in my eyes, the better offense actually goes to the Chiefs in this one. Honestly, just due to Mahomes and that O-line play. And me and Luke, we've actually talked about this all year long is, the Eagles, they're a great second quarter team. But, hell, even last their game against the 49ers, and I know they weren't going as hard in the second half against the 49ers because they didn't have to because they're playing against Josh Johnson and Brock Purdy who couldn't throw it. But, their offense, and they've been able to do this all year long, play with leads, but they really don't score a whole lot of points in the second half. And Mahomes, they haven't been as high-flying this year in terms of points, but they kind of score all the time. They never really take those big gaps and breaks in it. So I actually think the Chiefs have the better offense in this one. But with that being said, the Eagles' run game will still be a key factor if it can get going, because I think as we've seen, the Chiefs' defense, on the other hand, they're used to playing with leads as well, but when they're playing with leads, they don't really stop the run. They only rush the passer with Frank Clark and Chris Jones, and they're just trying to get to the quarterback 24/7. I think that's where Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott are all going to gash the Chiefs' run defense. I do not think Chiefs' run defense and Nick Bolton and company, I don't think they're going to have a very good day stopping the run. And I think that's where the Eagles are probably going to have their best game. And then, of course, the Chiefs have a very young secondary. And A.J. Brown's probably going to look to take advantage of that. But they got to stop the run first. So we'll see.
Yeah, they got to stop the run. And then, they like you said last week with the Bengals should have targeted those receivers more down the field.
Yep.
And the Eagles have pretty good receivers as well. So we'll see how good Jalen Hurts' arm really is in the Super Bowl, because I don't know that he may have to use it at a later time in the game. And I guess just don't be afraid to, throw the ball downfield, because A.J. Brown's the type of guy that can go up and moss a rookie cornerback with ease. He literally did it to the Steelers. Remember that whenever he was like triple guarded and they threw it to him, and then he mocked him and did the 1, 2, 3 in the end zone. So yeah, that's something that he can do on the regular. He might be an X factor in this game too. I don't have any props for him to go off or anything, but he certainly has the ability to be a huge X factor in this one.
Yeah, he's obviously the best wide receiver between both of these teams. They may have the best two as of late. Honestly, Devonta Smith might be ahead of all the guys on the Chiefs side. In the wide receiver, not tight end. We're not talking about tight end. Talking about wide receiver here.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown, probably the best one on the field. But this kind of reminds me of the Eagles versus Patriots Super Bowl in terms of wide receivers. The best wide receiver in that game may have been either Brandon Cooks or Julian Edelman, and Brandon Cooks was eliminated early on in that game. I don't know if you remember that vicious hit from
and he got destroyed.
Jenkins or Rodney McLeod, I believe. But kind of like that game, not anybody crazy, but A.J. Brown is pretty damn good. So I will give him the number one wide receiver nod in this one for sure, but not a whole lot of huge playmakers on the outside in this one.
Yeah, I completely agree with your analysis on this one. I thought it was really well put together. So,
with that being said, though, moving a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage here in the offensive line, Travis Kelce. I mean, these playoffs, nobody's been able to stop him yet, which is why he's honestly probably the reason why the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. If you look at his stats, him and Mahomes, obviously, but got to have the quarterback to get it to him.
Yes.
But, that first game, 15 catches, and then against the Bengals, I know he had a touchdown as well. So, and obviously he called the Cincinnati Mayor a jabroni, so that means something as well.
Is he though?
Yeah. And
is he?
Is he a jabroni?
I think so. I think you put him in that category.
That's something we might have to look into more, his jabroniness. But obviously Kelce wins this tight end matchup as well. Dallas, Texas Goddard, pretty damn good tight end as well, but not nearly as good as Kelce has been. So, yeah. And then obviously, as we were just talking about, better defense in this one obviously goes to the Eagles, and it's not really a question. Yeah. This is going to be just dropping the names of guys, Luke. They have one of the best front sevens in a while in a Super Bowl probably. It's been a little bit since the Bucs had a pretty good front seven against the Chiefs as well, but I don't know if it's as good as this one. Listen to the names of these, just the starters. Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, and Javon Hargrave. And and maybe the biggest name on that entire list, Fletcher Cox, is the only one in that group who didn't have double-digit sacks this year, and he still had 7. And to top it off, the guys that are rotating in for them when they need a breather, these guys are only playing like 15 to 20 snaps a game. Ndamukong Suh, Livnell Joseph, Robert Quinn, who I believe was second in sacks last year, only to TJ Watt, and Big Jordan Davis to stop the run. I mean, that group of interior defensive linemen and linebackers is, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that is 2, maybe 3 teams worth of guys that teams would just love to have. Obviously, a couple of them a little older, Livnell Joseph, Suh, but because since they only get in 10, 15 snaps, they get in there and they just wreak havoc.
They're fresh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then they also allow their starters to get fresh when they do go in for a few plays. So I think, as good as the Chiefs' offensive line has been, and it has been fantastic in the playoffs and since Chiefsaholic has gone to jail, but this is going to be a tough task for them. And obviously you'll see it reflected later. We think it's going to be too much, but that's just it. I mean, they pretty much win it right there. And then to top it off, their secondary is way better than the Chiefs' rookie secondary pretty much. CJ Deuce, Slay, Bradbury, even Avonte Maddox, the fourth corner pretty much. And you have Marcus Epps at safety, and not to mention the really hard-hitting white safety who always just pops out on the screen, it seems like, for their defense because he's like the only white guy out there. Blankenship, the safety. So they have him as well. Great defense. I mean, there's a reason why these guys are here. So, and we saw that against the 49ers too. They only gave up really one fluke.
They got guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you want to have a guy off right now?
Who's who?
Guy off.
What team you want?
I'll take the Chiefs.
Okay.
All right, you go first though. The Eagles are the home team, so we'll let them go first.
Okay. Hurts.
Mahomes.
Miles Sanders.
Travis Kelce.
A.J. Brown.
Orlando Brown.
Devonta Smith.
Chris Jones.
Jason Kels.
Creed Humphrey.
Lane Johnson.
Frank Clark.
Hassan Reddick.
Nick Bolton.
Fletcher Cox.
Trent McDuffie. I'm running out here.
Darius Slay.
Oh my goodness. MVS.
James Bradbury.
Okay, all right. The Eagles win the guy off. They win the guy off.
I could have gone.
I could have
back
said some other guys, but they're
too.
like Pacheco. But
Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
Another great offensive lineman.
They're just stacked at every position.
Yeah, it's like the best built team.
If it wasn't the Mahomes effect, like if the Chiefs had any other quarterback but Patrick Mahomes, they had Josh Allen, they had Joe Burrow, they had Justin Herbert, any of those guys, you're thinking the Eagles are winning this in a blowout. But it's the Mahomes effect is what makes this game a toss-up, and that's insane when a guy has that much value. So.
Yeah,
the Eagles just have such a complete team, man. It's insane.
And maybe actually, I saw this last week during the week. One of the coolest stats about the Eagles is their starting offense, Luke. 10 of the 11 guys that start were drafted by the Eagles. The only one that starts that wasn't drafted by the Eagles was A.J. Brown, who they acquired from the Titans. Everybody else is grown.
What about C.J. DJ?
Well,
C.J. Gardner-Johnson. What about him?
He's on defense, so I'm talking about
Oh,
offense.
you're talking about offense.
Yeah, defense a little bit different. They've got some guys that have moved over there. Obviously, Slay, CJ Deuce, like you said, Robert Quinn, couple of guys on the defensive front seven, but offense, it's all homegrown guys. In fact, some of them are homegrown guys from when all the way back to Andy Reid, which is incredible because Andy Reid, this is, I think, his 10th year as the Chiefs head coach. So obviously that is Jason Kels, and maybe Lane Johnson was the
Fletcher
other one.
Cox.
Fletcher Cox, you're right. Those guys.
I think Brandon Graham too, maybe.
No, yeah, you're right. Brandon Graham was he was on that
all
list
three
as
of them.
well. So that's crazy to think about when you think of all the turmoil on turnover in the NFL. But so yeah,
yeah,
but
it is crazy.
And
Andy Reid drafted both of the Kelsey brothers, so that's another storyline. Before
that is also wild.
Before you get into your other storylines, I'm going to do mine real quick. I have one. So everyone knows this is the Super Bowl of the brothers, right? Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey. It's the first time any brothers have squared off in the Super Bowl, and it'll be, I believe, probably the third pair of brothers to be inducted into the Hall of Fame after the Sharps, and Eli Manning probably will be inducted. So the Mannings, the Kelseys will probably be the third. Huh?
I guess Jim Harbaugh's probably not going to get in. John probably.
Oh, yeah. Also, probably not.
Tidbit here, Jim and John, they coached against each other in the Super Bowl. Didn't play, but coached against each other. I remember that storyline when I was little.
Yeah.
That's the blackout game.
That was Superdome. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
Exactly.
So. Saw that too, yeah.
Interesting fact. That was also the last time. No, actually, never mind. That was the fake stat, what I was about to say. So it's a Super Bowl of the brothers. So congrats to the mom. That's pretty cool. Also, Andy Reid drafted both of them to their respective teams, which is also pretty cool. But while it's a Super Bowl of the brothers, it's also the Super Bowl of the brothers, as Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts become the first pair of what are you laughing for? You think that's funny, Cam? Turn your mic on, coward.
I do. That made me shy.
So Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts become the first black QBs to both start in the same Super Bowl. So the first pair, which is pretty cool for the advancement of the game and stuff, just to see how far that position has come, because, just typically it's been, the tall white guy that can stand in the pocket and throw accurate passes, but just to see how much the position has evolved is pretty cool. So the brothers really and the brothers.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's the evolution of that position. I mean, you think about it now, it's not split down the middle, I don't think, but I mean, there's a ton of African American quarterbacks now. I was actually kind of shocked by that. So I was like, is this really the first one? I mean, obviously there's been tons of black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, but I was a little shocked to find out that this was the first head-to-head, really has come a long way since Doug Williams, first ever black quarterback to play in the Super Bowl for the Redskins at the time, and they won. Interesting tidbit here during Black History Month as well. So,
yeah, of course, during the Black History Month as well. So it's always really cool. Oh, all right, keep going with your. Sorry, I interrupted there. I just had to get that off. It was a perfect transition.
Two more just football-y things. Special teams, third of the game. Some people don't think it's a true third, but does mean just as much as we've seen in the past. I think I'm going to give the nod to the Eagles in terms of special teams as well.
I think it's pretty even.
Yeah, I do too. One thing I will say about the Eagles is that they don't return punts like ever. The Britton Covey guy, the white returner for the Eagles, I swear to God, he is afraid to return it. But the Gunners on special teams for the Eagles, they are mean. which makes sense, because they're kind of fighting for spots on that roster in the first place if they're gunners on special teams. One of my favorite ones, I think, on special teams is Josh Jobe, who was like a stud at Alabama for a little bit. Then he got hurt and kind of fell off a little bit. And I don't know what pick he was to the Eagles, but he wasn't a high selection. And he has been playing mean on special teams, like hitting, old-fashioned NFL hitting. So Chiefs return player, yeah, they got to keep their head on a swivel when they see Jobe coming down the field gunning. I actually think, it just seems like the Chiefs have guys to stick at returner that can make plays more, like Hardman, or they could stick Pacheco or McKinnon back there. Just some guys that can return it a little bit better than Britton Covey. But I will say that the biggest thing that probably matters the most is I feel like Jake Elliott is kicking with a lot more confidence than Harrison Butker. But with that being said, Harrison Butker did make the game-winning kick against the Burrow, so his morale is probably back on the up and up. And you got to have a –
And he's also got a bigger leg. So not only is he kind of like on the hot streak with the game-winning kick, but like Jake Elliott can't go out and kick a 60-yarder. The Eagles know that his range is like 58, and that's max. Yeah. Harrison Butker, they'll send him out there for 65 yards if they need a 65-yard field goal to win the game. They'll send him out there for it. So just kind of, that's the difference in the kicking game. And then also another huge game or huge part of special teams is the punting game. The Chiefs have an all-pro punter, Tommy Townsend. He's the best in the game. The Eagles have a punter that they picked up midseason. So, Brett Kern, he's been around a while. He's been a good punter. He's not a bad punter at all, for being picked up in the middle of the year. He's actually a really good acquisition, but also that advantage also goes to the Chiefs. So Brett Kern is not a bad punter at all. He's the veteran guy. He knows what to do, but as long as there's no wires in the way, his punch should be pretty good. So,
yeah. Pretty impressive to hit the guide wire. So, like I said, he's a Titans legend. True. He played with he was in the same special teams room as Randy Bullock for a lot of years. So, Fat Randy.
Oh my God, Fat Randy.
So, yeah. Couple Titans here in the Super Bowl. You got Brett Kern and AJ Brown here. And maybe one of the more interesting – this one is definitely embrace debate. Head coach-wise, I think the nod, it obviously goes to Andy Reid because he's won a Super Bowl and he's a legendary coach even if he never won that Super Bowl. But
he's fifth all-time in all-time wins, and this is his third Super Bowl appearance. So, yeah,
here's
definitely
a
legendary coach.
If Nick wins this one – he will have a pretty damn good body of evidence to be considered a top 3 NFL coach come next season, because all this guy does is win. And I want to hear what you have to say about that. Who would you, if he wins the Super Bowl against Andy Reid by a suspected score that I'm looking at right now that you have down there, what 3 coaches are you putting ahead of him come next season?
I'm a Nick Sirianni fan. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, I picked him to win Coach of the Year, so that's how much of a fan I am of him. I appreciate the success, but you're saying top 3 head coach
if they
in the
win.
Entire league.
Head coach.
See, that's wild because there's some guys. Andy Reid, he's there up at the top. I'm just naming guys, no one in particular. You got Bill Belichick, who might be the greatest coach of all time. He's on the Patriots sideline. You have a guy named Mike Vrabel over in Tennessee who is almost, he brought an injured squad. He brought one of the worst squads to a 1 seed last year. He brought them to a 7-10 record this year. They were probably a bottom 5 worst roster team in the NFL.
What did they do with the 1 seed? The Titans.
What did they do with it? They got blown out at home by the Bengals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Go
on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, but Mike Vrabel, he's one of the most respected coaches. I'm going to say
a game
he's
against
a great
teams with a 500 record or better this year.
Okay, and then you have Sean McVay coming back. He's not going to the booth. Sean McVay he's won a Coach of the Year. He's won many, many regular season games. He's won a Super Bowl. He's the youngest coach to ever win a Super Bowl. So you got that going for him. Kyle Shanahan on the other side, offensive mastermind. Yeah, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. His brain, we made the computer analogy with his brain. He tends to choke it in the big moments, but he's still a great head coach that he's proved it year after year after year. So Nick Sirianni, while he definitely would secure his mark as a very good coach in the NFL, top 3 is very, very, very high ranking for someone who's only been coaching 2 years. And as we said, has probably the best roster in the NFL.
I would, and here's what I'll say. And the reason why I'm even bringing up this discussion is because some of the guys you listed, I do agree with you. Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. I forget about Sean McVay sometimes. The 3 coaches that I had at the top with Nick Sirianni, if he wins this game, was Belichick, who hasn't done anything in a while, but he's the GOAT. And then obviously Andy Reid as well. But the reason why I'm saying Nick Sirianni is, yes, he has the best roster, but he's also developed Hurts from a guy that, was a 4th-round pick, very much a project
second-round pick,
player.
actually.
Second-round pick, sorry. Very much a project player and a guy that the whole city of Philadelphia was like, why the hell did you draft this guy? Unless you're moving him to wide receiver, why did you draft this guy? And the improvement from just last year to this year is insanity, if you ask me. I mean, Hurts is going to be second in the MVP voting probably from a guy that – think about this, Luke. After that playoff loss to the Buccaneers last year, we were all sitting and wondering, like, okay, but is he the guy? We weren't sure. We really weren't sure.
Yeah.
I actually remember Big Cat saying that. But, we really weren't sure. And this year we're sure. And I think a big part of that has to do with Sirianni. And they still went they went 14-3. I mean, that is a hell of a record.
Yeah.
And they pretty much built up from the ground up. And here's another ode to how great of a head coach he's been. He says some of the dumbest, corniest shit ever. Shit that would not fly if they lost even probably just a few more games than what they lost this year. Shit would not fly in the city of Philadelphia, the way some of the stuff he says and how corny some of it is.
Very
but
corny.
He wins. And I just think if he wins a Super Bowl, he would have a Super Bowl over some of the guys that you're talking about. Vrabes, Shanahan somehow doesn't have one. Obviously, Sean Payton's coming back, but I would put Sirianni in that upper echelon. Obviously, and we'll just close it with this: Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. They're kind of in a world league of their own. Even though Andy Reid only has 1 Super Bowl, his body of work and his body, they're just upper echelon. So, and that's just how it is.
Body of work and his body.
So
he is peak performance.
Yeah,
he is the peak form of a man.
You may not like it, but that's how it is. So
when a guy can go out there and just eat a cheeseburger whenever he wants, he's got the confidence. He's got the body confidence. So, all right, you think we should get into some Super Bowl props here before we get to
I would love to get into some Super Bowl
the finale.
Yes, I would love to.
The season finale of Fantasy Corner, and then ultimately we'll give our final score predictions. So we didn't discuss who's going to go first, me or you.
I think we should popcorn them.
Okay, I agree with that.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. Popcorn. Okay, I could go first. We have a little bit of a head-to-head here on the first one. So I have heads, and so I got my odds from an article on CBS Sports. It had thousands of prop bets, and I ended up picking 14. One of them was not listed, but it's just a fun one. So 13, I guess, real props that I have here out of the thousands that there are. Heads, minus 101.
Which is
on the coin
bullshit.
flip.
That
it is. Yeah, that's how they get you.
I
minus
could not
101.
stop laughing about that a few moments ago before we started the show when I saw Luke's his prop odds for heads is minus 101. And like you said, we have a little head to head here, no pun intended. I've got tails plus 100 because tails never fails, but the sports book that I got my stuff from had heads plus 100, tails plus 100, and that's exactly how it should be because it's a 50-50 flip. But whatever book Luke got these from, heads minus 101. That is one of the wildest. That is wild to me. I still can't get over that, but that's funny.
It was heads minus 101 and tails minus 101. So the sports book is making money either way, whichever one it is. It's fleecing you. It's the Sportsline sports book, in case anyone was wondering. So yeah, but I have heads because tails never fails, but tails tends to fail if you ask me. Especially in the big moments. I lost money on tails last year. I placed a small responsible bet on tails last year and I lost money on it. So I'm taking the heads. So and then my next one, so you have the tails obviously. My next one is Jalen Hurts under 50.5 rushing yards minus 121. 50 rushing yards is a lot of rushing yards for a QB to have, especially in the Super Bowl, especially when he might be injured still. Trust me, I think he'll get his fair share of rushing yards. He'll get 30 or more, but 50 is, he needs to have a big run for that to happen. And I'm not saying it's not possible. All of these are certainly possible not to happen, but I'm pretty confident in this one.
Yeah, I like that one too. I don't have that one, but I do like that one as well. My next prop is Orange Gatorade plus 300, and I'm going to dive in here to a little of the analysis behind this one. I just don't think because I was thinking about going blue Gatorade because if the Eagles win, they're certainly not going to have green Gatorade. And I don't think they're going to go with white Gatorade. So
that'd be weird.
I feel like the next best thing is orange. And I'm going with orange Gatorade because you'll see later, I think we've kind of alluded that we're both thinking Eagles here. Now, if it was the Chiefs, if I did think the Chiefs are going to win, I would probably choose red Gatorade. But also, even if the Chiefs won, there's still an offhand chance that it would be orange because orange is one of the first colors. So now,
well, here's the thing. Also, is that you're saying like if the Chiefs win, it'll be red. But a lot of the times, the teams, like especially recently, they haven't picked their own color. Like they just pick a random ass color, and just throw it on the coach. It literally has no correlation to the team. So people like trying to pickpocket this. I think the orange Gatorade, it's a classic. When you think of Gatorade, you kind of think of the color orange or blue. They can be interchangeable. Orange has good odds. Oh, goodness. Crushed my mic stand there. Orange has good odds with plus 300. So I think you're getting good value out of the orange. I like this one.
Yeah. I think it was plus 100 or maybe plus 150. I think yellow Gatorade was plus 150, so you would make the least off that. But I'm going to stick with orange here.
It's a good one. All right, my next one is also another game bet. I save my my kind of fun bets for the end, but Travis Kelce over 0.5 rushing attempts. So this is a fun one. This is an interesting one, but I was looking at the rushing attempts and I was like, I'm kind of debating on these. And at the very end, you just see Travis Kelce 0.5. So if he has one rushing attempt, this hits, and the odds on this are plus 450. So if you bet $100 on this and he has one rushing attempt, you win $450. So I like the odds on this, and the chance that Andy Reid just has a crazy play drawn up, probably in the first quarter. If this happens, it will be on the first drive of the game where Travis Kelce has a rushing attempt, or late in the fourth quarter on like a 2-point conversion like play. But I don't know. I'm not super confident in this, but with the odds that it has, the plus 450, and just the funness of it too, I like it. So
this one is going to be fun, because
it's always alive.
Just think about what the Chiefs could be down 14, and they'll be down on the goal line, and if they freaking give Kels the ball, it is just going to be mania, chaos if they give him the ball and this goes over. My one note to you about this is I don't know if it was an option. I think his name is Jonas Gray or something Gray. Their other tight end, he's the one that usually does the QB sneaks when they don't have Mahomes do the QB sneak. They put the tight end in motion and the tight end takes the snap. It's usually Gray who does that. Because
he wasn't on there. He wasn't on the list of available options though.
I'm trying to think what play, some candy ass play where Kels gets a carry. Because shovel passes, those are considered passes. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. It could happen. It definitely could. Like Luke said,
and it's always alive too. All you need is one, so it's always alive until the last play of the game.
Luke said he has all his fun bets at the end. Ours are kind of out of order because I have all my fun ones at the beginning. But my next one is National Anthem over 124.5 seconds. And not the greatest value here, minus 182, and it actually way better value if you go under. Now, here's the keys here, Luke. National Anthem usually takes 2 minutes to sing for the average person. We have a country music singer singing the National Anthem. I'm blanking on the name. I can't remember if it's Cole Swindell or I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it's Cole Swindell. That could be completely fake, but country music singer.
It's Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton. Okay.
And he is a very slow singer, so he's
like very slow. Exactly. Thank you. He's very slow. And country music singers, they like to carry out the important parts of the national anthem. So, like the home of the brave part and the land of the free.
Hold on. Home of the Chiefs in this one. You have to remember the Chiefs are going to be here. Their fans are going to be there. You're going to hear it.
So that's good for me. That's over 124.5. That's all you need to know.
All right. Then my next one is Isaiah Pacheco over 68.5 total yards, minus 108. Between the receiving yards and the rushing yards that he's going to have, I think he goes way over this. If it was 98.5, I would take it. I think he's going to have a lot of yards in this one. I think the Eagles are going to try to lock up Kelce pretty well. And, the rest of the Chiefs receivers are just so sporadic, you have no idea. So Pacheco over 68 total yards. So this includes rushing and receiving. So even if he has one 25, 30-yard rush or, screen pass or something, that's going to be huge for this. All it takes is one big play. Now, granted, the Chiefs' run defense is good, but I like this still.
I'm going to go out of order on mine and piggyback just off of that one. It'll be quick. I have Pacheco over 13.5 receiving yards. I think I can't remember who I was talking. Oh, little Jimmy, Evan Femmer. I was talking to him about this yesterday. Big part of the Chiefs running game, air quotes here, is just throwing it to McKinnon and Pacheco out of the backfield, on swing passes and stuff. That's actually new age NFL football is, short passes out of the backfield to your quick running backs is kind of like another part of your rushing game. So that's why I'm taking Pacheco over 13.5 receiving yards. I'm going to say he'll probably catch 3 or 4 passes and, he should be good to go there. One rack play of 7.
I love that one. I'm trying to think why mine didn't have that. Mine was like way more than that, than 13.5. Trying to find the number on it. Oh, here it is. Isaiah Pacheco over 15.5. See, I'd take that.
Yeah, I would take 15.5 too. They're both good. So
yeah, I agree. All right, and then my next one is, this one's kind of a fun one, but Jake Elliott over 1.5 made field goals at plus 100. So it's literally just a double your money scenario. The Chiefs have been scoring a lot, or not the Chiefs, the Eagles have been scoring a lot of touchdowns recently. And I think the Chiefs defense, they know they're not going to be able to stop them. So they're going to play the bend but not break defense, which is going to lead to a lot of field goals. Jake Elliott is an extremely accurate field goal, and I think he's going to have a lot of 30 and 40 yarders. I'd probably 3 or 4 if I had to guess. So I'll go, the over 1.5 made field goals.
All right. Okay, I'll go continue out of order here. Stick with the kicking game. I've got Butker first field goal, and for some reason I forgot to write down what the prop stat was for it, plus, minus, whatever, but I don't have it for this one. But I've got Butker first field goal. For some reason I think it's going to be their very first drive. The Chiefs are going to be able to go down the field, and the Eagles will just adjust after that, but they're going to stop them, and they'll just get a Butker field goal, and that will be that. But, yeah. Butker first field.
All right.
Just feeling it.
Yeah, I like the feeling ones are always the best. Now, this one's my lock. Cam, you might laugh at this. I know you did laugh at it when you saw it earlier. This is my lock of the picks. It's such a niche one. It's so unique, but I think you could get some great value out of this. The jersey number of first touchdown scorer over 11.5 plus 105. So this is very interesting. So on the Chiefs, this includes players like Travis Kelce. This includes a Mahomes rushing touchdown. This is including McCole Hardman, including, I think, MVS, but Juju is 9, so Juju would not be included. On the Eagles side, this includes every single one of their running backs. Yep. It includes, so Jalen Hurts would not count if it was a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown.
Neither would A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown would not count because he's at 11 exactly. I think that's why the line is set at 11.5 to take him out of the game. But the chances, you have a lot more chances of this going over than under, I think. And, even when you get that random player, too, that just scores the random touchdown, they're usually over 11.5, too. So instead of just going at the outright first touchdown score, I'm going with the first jersey number touchdown score. So,
well, like I just said, I love that pick. And I'm actually going to back you up on this one. I've got your back here on this one because I've got Miles Sanders first touchdown plus 850.
Plus 850.
And he's well above number 11.5. So you should be set there. So yeah, we should be good to go there. I just think we'll talk about this later, but I've got Miles Sanders first touchdown. So.
Yeah, I see what you have, and I'll give you something to bounce off that. Jerick McKinnon. I was looking at the odds. Jerick McKinnon, his production has gone down recently, especially in the receiving game. But one thing that Jerick McKinnon has done during the stretch of Chiefs dominance is score touchdowns. And when I saw the Jerick McKinnon anytime touchdown, that could be passing, it could be rushing, it could be receiving. Anytime touchdown, Jerick McKinnon, plus 205. So you double your money. You bet 100, you win you bet 100, you win 205 on addition to your 100 back. That's what it is. So great odds for this to happen. And, it might not. There's a chance that it doesn't because his production has gone down. But with those odds and with, Jerick McKinnon's touchdown production, I think you just got to take it.
Interesting tidbit here in my mind when my brother, like I've said a couple of times on the show, Tate is a Vikings fan. Well, back in the day, Jerick McKinnon used to be a Viking, and he used to fumble every once in a while. And by every once in a while, I mean, like, it just seemed like every time I was watching the Vikings, he would fumble. And this is kind of a confession. I just remember calling Jerick McKinnon a chode over and over again. It's just something that came to my mind.
All right.
I would like to personally apologize to Jerick McKinnon. It wasn't your fault. Well, it probably was some of the fumbles, but you just needed a new change of scenery. So I will no longer call you that, and I haven't called you that in a very long time. So you're welcome for that. I don't hate that one because, like you said, he literally just checks in for Pacheco to do the same stuff Pacheco does, and if you know what Pacheco does, he'll get some carries, but he catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. I can literally see a Jerick McKinnon touchdown in this one on like a swing pass, breaks one tackle off of like Marcus Epps, and he's into the end zone. They'll like throw it when they're in the red zone. I can just see it. I feel bad about how I used to treat him, but that's the past. I'm going to continue on to Miles Sanders here. Miles Sanders to score 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to double up here. Eagles over 1.5 rushing touchdowns, because obviously if I've got Sanders to score twice, might as well just throw in Eagles over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. So we got plus 700 of Miles Sanders to score twice, which is kind of crazy that that's only plus 700. Meanwhile, first touchdown score is plus 850. But Eagles over rushing touchdowns 1.5 is also plus 150. So a couple of these hit here.
That's insane.
You're just banging in cash here off of these very similar bets here. So
yeah. If Miles Sanders has a big game, you're making a lot of money. But I love that Eagles over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. I must not have seen that one because I would have taken that.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that this team has rushed the ball, I mean, they literally have the most rushing touchdowns all time. I mean, behind, what was it, the Yellow Jackets or something? Like the Georgia Yellow Jackets or something like that from like 1929. Yeah, it might have been. It literally might have been Georgia Tech. I don't know if it was exactly, but it was something the Yellow Jackets. I don't think it was Georgia Tech. It was an actual like NFL team, like when the league was first formed. They were called the Yellow Jackets. I don't know where they were from, but they showed the stat in the NFC Championship game, and they broke the record like all time. And so for this team not to have 2 in the Super Bowl against this Chiefs defense, I feel like would be kind of insane. So
yeah, I do too.
The fact that that's got a plus sign in front of it too, I love it.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. And then this one's kind of a niche one too. It's kind of a random one, but the odds are great. First Chiefs player with a reception, Nicole Hardman, plus 1,000. Now, if this one hits, you pretty much don't even have to win any of your other bets the rest of the night because this will cover it. But this is, I mean, I don't know. Everyone's going to be hammering Travis Kelce for this one, and I feel like the Chiefs might just pull out some trickery, and then there's Nicole Hardman. So, I don't know. It might be someone even more random than him. It might be Gray, their backup tight end. But I don't know. I like the odds on Hardman. I feel like he's going to be on the field for the first play of the game. So
I could see that one hitting as well, but I can also see like that one catch that's it for Hardman. He's probably going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he does.
Like TJ Edwards or Nakobe Dean over the middle is just going to lay his ass out or like take out his kneecap, and then he's just done for the evening. And then
Brandon cooks him.
And then we're just going to be wrapped into a Super Bowl like Chiefs versus Buccaneers. It's going to roll on from there. But my next one is Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP plus 125. And this has a lot to do with our game pick as well. But, yeah, this is just a pure pick here. Pure pick. just kind of, not a whole lot of jazz surrounding this one. It's just usually it's your quarterback who gets the MVP. And I think the Eagles are probably going to be in that situation. So Jalen Hurts plus 125 to win Super Bowl 57 MVP.
I like that. And then my next one's just kind of a fun one. The scoregami. Will it be a scoregami in the Super Bowl? Probably not, but I'm saying yes because it's plus 1,600 and it's fun. So if you're a responsible gambler, you probably won't bet this, and that's probably smart. But hey, maybe throw $1 on it, and then you can make $16 if it happens. So I don't know. Just
the odds. Your odds for this one are messed up. It should be plus 16,000. If we're
I agree.
Like I've seen it in the past, scoregamis on games. The odds have been around like the 12,000 range, and it's the Super Bowl. So, scoregamis don't. I mean, they're rare, and we're down to a few. If it was a scoregami, I think we could be looking at one of the only ones on the board that would be probable here would be probably like 36 to 23. One of the last few on the board. My next one. Okay. Kenneth Gainwell over 18.5 rushing yards. So me and Luke, we've talked about the sensational Eagles running game. Don't get me wrong. Miles Sanders is going to be the workhorse here, but they always give the rock to Kenneth Gainwell, either out of the backfield in the passing game or just straight up carries. And he had some really good straight carries against that 49ers defense and Fred Warner. So an 18.5 is nothing crazy. So I would take Kenneth Gainwell over 18.5 rushing yards as well.
I like that one. It's a solid one. All right, and then my next one, I literally added just a second ago when you were talking, like previewing the Super Bowl, Cam, and you said something about the Eagles' second quarter, how they're always dominant in this. And I immediately looked back to the page where I got my odds from. I was like, I wonder what the second quarter spread is for the Eagles. And it was minus 0.5 point. So if the Eagles win the second quarter, it's plus 115. And I thought that was shocking. Now, if this is like at the end of the second quarter, they'll be ahead, that could change things. But how I read it as was just the second quarter alone. Like if the Eagles win the second quarter, it's plus 115. I mean, that's literally happened every single game this year. So I think that's a free money.
Yeah. I mean, if you could have locks, that would definitely – that's one that I would honestly lock as well. I mean, I can't believe that they're even offering that almost. I'm
shocked that there was a plus sign in front of that.
Which ones I got? I got two left here. I've got under 6.5 punts.
You got the punts one.
I've got and we have the Rihanna one, but under 6.5 punts here. And the reasoning behind this is I think the offenses are just going to be out on the field like for long stretches of game time. Like the Eagles' drives are going to consume a lot of clock. I think if we do go over 7 punts, it's actually going to be due to the Chiefs having quick 3 and outs. But I think Mahomes is going to be able to keep them on the field, and it'll be good. It'll be a fun Super Bowl, Luke, if we are under 6.5 punts, and that's another reason why I like it. So, plus 116.
It's a lot of punts too.
Yeah, it still has to.
It's a lot of punts.
It has to hit 7 for it to go over. So, you're kind of safe there at 6.5. So, I like
especially with these offenses, they keep the clock moving. They
exactly.
They move the ball and they move the clock, and that is not good for that many punts in a game. There's going to be punts for sure, but
the defense
a lot of punts. So I like that one.
So,
all right, and then I have 4 halftime show props here to close it out. You got 1, so I'll do 2, and then you can do yours. I have the first song for Rihanna, Disturbia, plus 1,500. I don't know why. There was a lot of songs that I was like, man, I could see this being one. I could see this being one. But Disturbia has such a good intro. I was like, that's just a perfect way to enter the halftime shows with the da da be bum 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 be dum bum. Like, I can just totally see her walking out to that. Now, there's also a chance she never even does that song either, because it's not like a huge song, but I like the chances with the plus 1,500. And then similarly, I have the last song is Run This Town, plus 400. This one I feel like is almost too. This one's either first or it's last. This one is not a middle of the pack song. This is one of the biggest songs that she has. So I'm excited for the halftime show. I'll say that. I'm a huge Rihanna stan. Maybe the greatest female artist of all time, in my opinion. I'm willing to throw that out there. At least that's in my personal opinion. There's a lot of other great female artists out there. My personal opinion, she has some bangers. We'll say that. I'm excited for this halftime show. This might be my favorite one since Bruno Mars. Might even surpass that.
Bruno Mars appearance was your favorite? The standalone one at MetLife?
The one where
or the one where
the one with the Ravens.
Coldplay.
No, it was the one like right before the blackout. I think that was the Super Bowl, wasn't it? That he did it?
No, he did
it like solo.
I think.
MetLife. Maybe it was the year after with the Seahawks and Broncos.
It was Seahawks Broncos. It was definitely Seahawks. That was the only good thing at that Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It was really good though.
Yeah, you're right.
I had to research
that.
It was.
I like that halftime show.
Interestingly enough. Okay, here we go. This is the one that kind of piggybacks off each other. My last prop here is under 8.5 Rihanna songs. And let me get my reasoning out for it. Under 8.5, just because it has to hit 9 for it to go over, obviously. But 8.5 songs in 15-minute time span. Now, the Super Bowl halftime is about 20-ish minutes, but she's on stage for about 15 of it because I got to set that shit up and whatnot and take it down. Now, if we go to 9 songs here, Luke, you're not even getting like a full minute or even 45 seconds of some of her songs here. It'll be like switching back and forth. Shout out Ray Allen. Switching back and forth like really, really fast in terms of her songs. And so I think that's why I'm going with under 8.5 Rihanna songs, because I think like some of her good songs, like you mentioned, those songs might span like a full minute and a half to like a minute 45. And if she gets any of her songs to go to like 2 minutes, just one of her songs to get like to 2 minutes of, which I don't know if that's ever happened in Super Bowl history, have one song go a full really 2 minutes. But like if she gets multiple to like 130 to 145, 9 is going to be dead, I feel like. But I'm curious to hear what you have to say on this one. So let's hear it here, Luke.
Yeah, I have the opposite as you. I have over 8.5 songs. I think you're being a hater. It may be the smart move what you're doing, but it's also the hater move. So I'm taking the over 8.5 just because I want to hear as many songs as possible here at this halftime show. That's minus 115, by the way. And then also, this is just a random one. I couldn't find this prop anywhere, but if you find it, this probably would have tremendous odds, probably in the 10,000s. I have the Jay-Z appearance. Yes. Will there be a Jay-Z appearance? Definitely. He's never appeared at a halftime show before, like on the stage. They have multiple hit songs together. I think there's a huge chance he will come on and perform at some point. So, did I call it? We'll have to see. But I'm here to say right now that there will be a Jay-Z appearance at this halftime show. I'm clipping that, by the way. This is a clip being posted on the Twitter. I guarantee it. It's a prediction. I need it to happen.
I could be tripping here, but wasn't Jay-Z in the Super Bowl halftime show last year?
I don't think so.
Wasn't he with the huge group of like Snoop Dogg and stuff last year?
No, that whole group was like kind of before Jay-Z, but Dr. Dre. I'm literally looking at it right now.
It was Dre, Snoop,
Dr. Dre,
who was
Eminem,
the girl there?
Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. Those were the 5 that were supposed to perform, and then there was also an appearance from 50 Cent and Anderson .Paak. Whoever that is.
So sick. Oh my God, I had goosebumps.
And I also want to give a shout out. There was the Justin Timberlake halftime show was a good one too. Still not my favorite. And then the Lady Gaga one was also really, really amazing. I love the Lady Gaga one too.
Okay.
At NRG Stadium. That was literally right before the Falcons got smushed. They literally just got their hearts ripped out. So that also made it 10 times better.
Well, I'm going to give you one that literally I always think about. Always. It like is stuck in my brain as a child.
All right.
And you know what? Now that I think of it, this halftime performance happened at State Farm Stadium or Phoenix Stadium, however you want to say it. Katy Perry coming out on the freaking lion during her halftime show. That's also where we got the shark appearance. You remember that shark person that there was all those memes made about? Hold on here. Let's see. Super Bowl shark.
The shark person.
Costume.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, I wish you could see what they were dancing along right next to Katy Perry while she was singing. I want to say probably Firework, if I had to guess. One of my favorite halftime shows of all time was the Katy Perry one. Eye of the Tiger, Eye of the Tiger. I've got the eye of the tiger and the fighter dancing with the lion because I am a champion. That was a great song.
Oh, yeah.
During the Super Bowl.
Keep it going.
Okay. I stuck it under our prop link for you to look at. How do you not remember that guy? He was a huge.
There's no way that was real.
Very, very real. And then right after that,
I do not remember that.
Malcolm Butler, game-winning interception. So that's the one that I always think of. If you ever have time, Luke, I encourage you or any listener to look up some of the greatest halftime performance on.
Nice mute.
They're just like on NFL's YouTube. You can find Prince's Purple Rain in Miami while it was raining.
In the rain.
Michael Jackson's at the – I can't remember if it was at Stanford or the Rose Bowl. Probably the Rose Bowl. When the Bills were playing, I believe. That one is insane. A couple other really great ones.
The Janet Jackson one?
Yeah.
Rolling Stones. Phil Collins had a good one.
There's been some that were actually pretty good in recent years for us. Oh, Shakira was a couple of years ago. That one wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
But I remember the memes from it.
It was all right. Yeah, true. The memes.
I love Coldplay, but they did not do a very good job. Bruno Mars saved their ass.
That was
terrible. Shout out to Bruno. Man. Yeah. Black Eyed Peas a long time ago. I remember that one too.
Yeah, I like that Super Bowl. That was the very first Super Bowl I remember watching. And that is I have a banner commemorating that Super Bowl. So I love that Super Bowl.
Whatever.
That was the first and only time I've watched the Packers play in a Super Bowl. Despite having Aaron Rodgers for a decade and a half. Let's end the Super Bowl talk. I'm getting depressed. So let's go to the fantasy corner, the swan song of season 1 of the fantasy corner. So hopefully we'll bring it back Next year during football season. But for now, I mean, this is it. This is the last football game of the year, so last fantasy corner. And we did have a last second question on the graphic that we posted on Twitter. I'm going to look it up real quick. It was from my father. So he was asking me a question to talk about on the show. And he's like, you know what? I'll just comment it under the fantasy corner thing. So it's like, perfect. He says, who is now the favorite to come out of the Western Conference after the Durant and Irvin trades? I assume he meant Irving. I have no idea. I would still say the Nuggets. Just because they have the best player.
Oh, man.
And the best record.
My heart wants me to be a Lakers guy. But, yeah, I don't think they will. Although I've always been a big Rui Hachimura fan. So I'm glad that they got him. I'm not very happy that they traded Thomas Bryant. I kind of was starting to fall in love with the LeBron to Thomas Bryant connection, and then people in the comments just posting the Kobe Shaq video. When Thomas Bryant would score like 30 points, everybody in the comments would just post that Kobe Shaq highlight video. But
oh man!
So I'm gonna miss him for that.
I did find it funny how. I don't know if you put this on there, but LeBron did break the scoring record on Tuesday night against the Thunder, and literally every single player that like had a moment in that game, the Lakers just traded away. Like Russell Westbrook played awful, gone, shipped his ass out. Pat Bev, he's gone. Thomas Bryant, who he's gonna be in this picture forever. And the LeBron fadeaway shot to take the scoring record. Literally every single person on their phones, except for Phil Knight on the court side, every single person on their phones. And Thomas Bryant is just there posted up, calling for the ball. Now, to his credit, he did have a mismatch. He was
probably open.
Yeah, he was being guarded by a small guard. It's as simple as that. You know, it was an easy 2 points if you gave it to him, but you know, you can't have a look like that. So, you know, they traded him out. Hachimura actually played really good. He might be a really good player for the Lakers. So, but I still think the Nuggets. I think it might be their year. Stan Kroenke's just on one this year. Yeah.
Ah, shit, that sucks. You're right.
It's the Nuggets, even though the Nuggets did lose to the Magic tonight, but it's neither here nor there. I don't think Jokic is playing right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you a pick here. I'm trying to get you a pick here for out of the West, and the Nuggets for me, Luke, because they've done this a couple of times. Best record and come to the playoffs and just shit their pants, and
they do nothing.
You know, and one thing that really scarred me about the Nuggets was the Suns and 4 guy. I don't know if you remember him, but when he beat the shit out of that one Nuggets fan that was, you know, trying to punch him, and he just had to defend himself. And then when he threw up that Suns and 4 thing, that I don't know if they're going to make it to the finals ever. And if they do, I don't know if they can win it. I'll be honest, the West is a lot less complicated at the top. I mean, the Nuggets are so far and away right now, it seems like, in comparison with the East. But you still don't feel – it's kind of like when the Jazz would get the number 1 seed. I don't have that confidence in the Nuggets. Honestly,
yeah, I don't either.
If I had to pick, if you had to ask me this question last week on Thursday, my pick would have been the Mavericks, and that is probably very, very a shocking pick. I just thought Luka was going to get over the hump this year. I would probably scratch that pick now that they added Kyrie, and you might be like, how does that make the Mavs worse? I just think, you know, every team that Kyrie has been to as of late, they can't push, you know, they can't get over the hump themselves. They'll either get to the conference finals like he did with the Celtics, I believe. You know, Kyrie, you know, played great in that series where if Kevin Durant's foot was just 1 inch smaller, the whole trajectory of the NBA could be different. And that's crazy to say
Oh,
We always say like,
but it's true.
football is a game of inches. Baseball can be a game of inches in terms of, pitching in home runs at the wall and stuff. Kevin Durant's foot, 1 inch smaller. I mean, the NBA probably looks a hell of a lot different right now, and that's insane to say, but it
Crazy.
is real. So last week, my pick probably would have been the Mavs. A part of me just wants to take the Warriors again.
The Suns? Oh, I don't know. I think they're done.
And well,
they're going to win a playoff series.
If the Warriors don't get it, I think the Suns might be able to push over the top. Now, my one thing about the Suns is they have Chris Paul, and he is, I don't know what it is about him. He just, they can't win in the finals he can't win in the finals. Chris Paul has never won it. But Kevin Durant, I mean, he's just that guy. But so that might be enough to push him over, Chris Paul.
But here's the thing. I don't know. Kevin Durant, when he doesn't have a supernatural star player next to him, he can't win the finals. I mean, think about it. He had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, very, very good players, not supernatural, very good players. And then he went to Brooklyn, and, he had Kyrie, very good player, not supernatural in ways, but he couldn't win a finals. So he can only win with Steph Curry. But the Suns they just took it to the next level. But I find it interesting that you say that about the Mavs, because if you thought they were going to win last week, they got better. They traded away Dinwiddie and they traded away Finney Smith, which were good role players. But you have to understand, they got a generational basketball player.
Fuck it, we're taking the Mavs. I'm back on. Oh,
okay.
Shit. That is practically
I like
Cowboy Cam, but Cowboy Cam might be alive. Holy shit, I might be back. I'm back on the Mavs. I was just thinking the big driving factor for why I dropped the Mavs as soon as they got Kyrie is because it's always this mindset, Luke. It's like, oh well, maybe it'll work out for us. The Celtics, they got him. Kyrie, they're like, oh, this could, his track record's not perfect, but maybe it could work for us. Didn't work. Nets, they got Kyrie. Well, it could work for us this time. We've got KD and all these other pieces, and Kyrie. It could definitely work for us. It could be us. Didn't work. Mavs, Mark Cuban, one of the smartest people in the world, could work for us.
I know. I don't think the Mavs are saying that. That's the difference, is that the Celtics and Nets both said maybe this could work. I think the Mavs are just like, they know they're real. They accept what's going to happen. They're like, yeah, Kyrie, he's a great basketball player, but he may be a clubhouse cancer, and he's an extremely weird dude. And he may be anti-Semitic too. We don't know that. He may think the Holocaust is fake. He may think the world is flat. Allegedly, all these things. Some of the stuff you can back up with proof, but he's a very weird guy. But here's the thing. They only have him for a half year. They don't have to deal with him for a whole year. And I think Mark Cuban is taking the right path when he literally said, we're giving Luka help. So he's like saying, yeah, Luka is the better basketball player. Kyrie, you're the second best player on this team, which that gives me Cleveland vibes, LeBron was the best player. Kyrie helped him tremendously, and I think maybe that could be humbling for Kyrie to know, like, hey, yeah, this guy is a better player than me. I'm great. This team can't win without me, but he's more of an important player than I am. So I don't know if that's going to help at all, but it might.
While you were talking there, I had some other thoughts. Maybe Texas is the best state to have some of those takes if you're Kyrie. Maybe he will thrive with some of these takes. Now, obviously not the Holocaust one, but some of these other ones. Also, he's going to be free range to, kind of launch his own personal investigation into even the JFK assassination. He'll be right there in the heart of Arlington. He he's going to have some time in his hands in the off season. So I'm back. Cowboy Cam he's back. I said he was dead. He's back. Maverick Cam is here to stay. You talked me into it. I was doubtful, but you're right. It's not oh, maybe this could work. It's going to work. Mavs.
Yeah. I like that. And like I said, it's only Kyrie for a half season. So he doesn't have time for like the cancer to spread. You're catching it early, in terms of medical terms. But so he's there to play basketball, and maybe the other stuff is secondary. I don't know.
How much chaos can he really cause in like less than half a season? Oh, that's kind of tempting.
Also, I don't think
that's tempting fate, but
also I think that Mark Cuban's not the type of guy to put up with it either. Like if Kyrie starts doing stuff, like he's just going to either bench him or he's going to cut him or trade him. He's not going to put up with it.
Could kill him. It is Texas. Could kill him.
He might. I don't know. Also, Kyrie's anti-vax will be much appreciated by those fans too.
Not Mark Cuban.
All right, we'll get to the stardom, sit-ems, and sleepers here before we run out of time. My stardom is tank season, specifically for the St. Louis Blues, because today, with weeks to go before the NHL trade deadline, we shipped out Vladimir Tarasenko, who's been a staple in the St. Louis Blues franchise for the last decade. I don't know what the Blues look like without Tarasenko, because when I first started even knowing what the Blues were, he was there and he was amazing. So he helped us win a Stanley Cup, and he's given us countless all-star appearances, but I thought we got a good haul for him. We traded out him and Niko Mikkola, who's extremely mid defenseman. We got a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, a decent prospect, at least what I've heard. I'm not a puckhead by any means, but he seems like a decent prospect. And then Sammy Blais, former Blue. So he's coming back home. First-round pick, fourth-round pick prospect. And I thought it was not a bad trade whatsoever. Could have been better, sure, but forgetting the guy he's old and he's on the last year of his contract, and you're probably not going to make the playoffs. I thought it was a good move. And now we can fully embrace the tank for Bedard.
Yes, exactly.
I was mentioned a few weeks ago.
That. Tank for Connor. Now we do have some ground to kind of make up, I think, because we're not like dead last here. So we really need to start throwing in the towel a little bit if we want a real shot at Connor. He's going to be one off the board unless some prospect emerges here at the very end. But, he has been the consensus number one going on, I want to say close to 2 years now, like 2 full calendar years. They've had this guy marked like, okay, when it's time for the 2023 draft, he is going to be the number one selection. So I agree. If he is St. Louis Blue, I might commit myself to watching 10 Blues games when he is on the roster.
Oh, wow.
End-to-end hockey.
Well, here's the thing.
10.
As much as we can tank, we're probably not going to get – unless we get lucky in the lottery, because they do have the lottery. But so right now there's currently 5 teams below us in the Western Conference, but the Sharks are getting hot and the Canucks are weird. They could win at any point in time. And the Coyotes are kind of getting hot. I think the Ducks and Blackhawks will finish below us. And then in the Eastern Conference, we have 2 teams. That's it. Just 2 teams below us. So right now, currently, if there is no lottery, we'd have the 8th pick. So it's not awful. And the 2 teams are the Canadians and the Blue Jackets, and the Blue Jackets are god awful. They will definitely finish below the Blues. The Canadians could pass us though. So yeah, we got some work to do. Boys, go out there and lose.
Well, Luke, we're doing this at a good time.
Goodness.
Like, we're doing this at a good time. We're giving us a chance to get back in the mix. But we got to, if we're doing this though, we got to do this. How we always talk about how there's some real psycho Blues fans down in downtown St. Louis and the South Side and old, some of the old Italy and stuff like that in St. Louis and stuff. They're huge diehard Blues fans. Those guys are going to have to close their eyes for a few months. Okay. We need our guys to start almost, I hate to say it, almost point shave here. We need Bennington in net every night. No rest for the wicked.
Oh my goodness.
We're ready.
Bennington is the type of guy too. You just tell Bennington, oh yeah, if you start losing, we have a better chance of getting this Connor Bedard guy, and he'd just be like, all right, if it helps the franchise long term, and he'll just give up goal after goal. He's the type of guy I feel that would intentionally tank, and not bet on it or anything like the White Sox did in 1919, but just the guy to go out there just for the good of the franchise. Yeah, just to help the team.
Yeah.
So, and then also another part of that, we need a new hockey team to root for the rest of this year, because to root for to win. We're rooting for the Blues to lose, but we need a hockey team to root for to win. So I have two teams I'm splitting right now between. Oh yeah, okay. Well, never mind. We don't. I'm splitting between the Devils and Sabres. I'm rooting for them mutually, and you're rooting for the Penguins. So there we go. Both Eastern Conference teams. Hopefully, we'll have a playoff battle. And then my sit-em is Highway 44. If you live anywhere near St. Louis or the southern part of Missouri, you know how much of a piece of shit this is. Driving on this is absolutely awful. I drive it back and forth every single week, sometimes multiple times throughout the week. I drive on this highway. It just amazes me that this is drivable. You're just literally cruising down the interstate, 75, sometimes 80 miles an hour. I don't want to admit to a crime there, but I will. And you're just cruising down, and then pothole, pothole. Oh, you want to change lanes? Oh, you got to go across, because the lanes are separated not by lines, but by a row of potholes. So, or just roughly filled in potholes where it looks like they just squirted some asphalt down and didn't smooth it out or anything. It's just, it's a terrible driving condition. No wonder there's so many accidents on the road. And then they proceed to do road work, but not work on the stuff that's actually fixable. So, and it's got to be terrible for the cars. Some of these potholes that I drive over, it's just awful. So just sit that highway. I hate it. And, but as Cam said, it is the quickest way to get you place to place, but I don't know, man, it's in such bad shape here. And then my sleeper, is China. Now you might be thinking, oh, we had the spy balloon from China that was going over the United States. Yes, that happened. We shot it down, probably way too late, but we shot it down. That's not what this is about. I felt it was important to acknowledge the balloon, but I was looking at the World Baseball Classic uniforms and hat designs came out today, and China's is sweet. I'm not going to lie. I will not be rooting for them by any means in the World Baseball Classic, but they have a sick logo and sick uniform. So if you have not seen that, go check it out. It's pretty awesome. I don't want to say that anything China does is awesome, but they did get it right on these uniforms. So that's my sleeper.
They're kind of just pinning our ass down right now. I mean, they're winning right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have us ass up right now. We are in a bad spot with China. I mean, think about it. Hell, the spy balloon, they could have spied on some of our best jerseys in sports and could have used that intel to create these master classes. But China's up right now. It's 2-0 right now. Third period, probably.
Yeah. Also, it's just breaking news, by the way. Patrick Mahomes just won the MVP. So
I've got
over Jalen Hurts.
Honors stuff coming across my phone too. Yeah. We'll save that probably.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. Yeah, I'll just say it. Mahomes won MVP. Breaking news. Nick Bosa won Defensive Player of the Year, and Justin Jefferson won Offensive Player of the Year. We'll talk about that next week, obviously. Yeah. Did he
Yep.
officially?
Yeah. And the Hall of Fame class
Oh,
was
okay.
released as well.
Who made it?
Two Thomases, Joe Thomas and one of my favorite linebackers, Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware as well. Another name you'll recognize, Darrell Revis Island. Rondé Barber got in this year as well, and then
Darrell Revis.
A couple other not known names, but kind of before our time a little bit. Don Coryell, Chuck Hawley, Joe Klecko, who I do know, but and Ken Riley, who I don't know. That's because he played from 1969 to 1983, so that's why.
I wonder why he's just now getting in the Hall of Fame. No Torrey Holt again. So
I wonder why he's even alive.
Very interesting.
No offense.
Yeah. But yeah, China, they have such a cool culture, and it's just a shame that their country is completely ruined by their government now. Yeah, it's a shame. But all right, Cam, your fantasy corner before we wrap it up.
Yeah,
long show today.
Yeah, my stardom, Luke, is the cameraman during the LeBron record-breaking game the other night here. Me and Luke both, along with a couple of our buddies, gutted out a later night here on a school night to stay up and watch LeBron break the scoring record. And as I was watching that game and as I kept going back from the TV to Twitter, one phenomenon that I was able to pick out, as the rest of the nation probably was as well, was whoever the cameraman was that night, he knew the assignment, so to speak. I mean, the only people he showed in the crowd was Kareem. And all he would do is every time LeBron would score, hell, anytime LeBron touched the ball, as soon as the play was over, they would just flash over to Kareem sitting there stone-faced, worried that the scoring record was going to be broken that night. And just some great camera shots of Kareem, just looking utterly demoralized, depressed, that his scoring record that he probably thought was never even going to be breathed on was broken. So yeah, shout out to the cameraman. It was one of the greatest visuals I've seen in sports in a while. Like literally anytime LeBron made a bucket, Staples Center goes nuts. Oh, Crypto Arena, sorry. And it's just flashed over to Kareem, who's just sipping on some kind of red juice there, drinking the sorrows of life. But funny stuff.
I don't know. I don't think he was depressed that his record was being broken. I think he was just depressed because he's old and he doesn't want to be there. Like he just wants to go home and sleep. That's what I felt like anyway. But yeah, it is an untouchable record. And, Kareem didn't have a 3-point line for most of his career, and he still got that many points. So that's kind of insane to think about. Because if LeBron didn't have a 3-point line, he wouldn't be near that. So just kind of an insane thing to think about, and just how hard it's going to be to break in the future. But that's all I got to say about it. The cameraman was very funny with the Kareem shots. The Kareem camera.
Yeah. Well, and it was all one camera. It was just the game and then Kareem. What they really should have done is, we should have had how ESPN will do 4 different broadcasts for the national championship once for the NFL. We needed just
the mega cast.
The mega cast where you have the game and then ESPN2, the alternate channel, it's just Kareem. The camera is just sitting on Kareem. That would have been a nice touch. But yeah, that was a funny tidbit throughout the night. That was nice to have to keep me up for it. Not that LeBron breaking the record wasn't enough, but it was a nice a bonus there.
Secondary thing.
And my sit-em, this one is a wow. I can't believe this still happens today. So at my father's house, doing some renovations throughout the house, particularly in the kitchen as well, new appliances, new stove, new refrigerator. And on Sunday, we took out our refrigerator, and it was sold pretty fast. Older refrigerator, so it was time for a new one anyway. So we bought a refrigerator from Lowe's, and as it was shipping and it came in on time, got into the house, they bring it in and they set it up, and the door on the refrigerator was all kinds of fucked up and wouldn't shut. And so my dad was just in this like standoff here with the Lowe's people, and he goes, if this was your fridge, guys, would you keep it? Like, general question. And the Lowe's people were like, well, there is going to be like a constant condensation leak outside of your fridge for the foreseeable future. And that was just like the first event. That was just like, okay, you're taking this fridge back because we can't have that. All right. A few days later, Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday rolls around. Time for fridge take 2. Okay. So the Lowe's people, my dad has this tracker on his phone that tells you how many stops the Lowe's truck is away from delivering the fridge. All right. So we get down, the tracker notifies us that we're 1 stop away. Good news. And then my dad gets this call from this Lowe's lady who gave us just a quick little shout to let us know that there was some slight damage done to the back of our refrigerator. But since it was the back of the refrigerator should be fully operational, and you won't be able to see it because it's on the very back. Well, the Lowe's people pull up. And so because that lady told us, my dad instantly went to look at the fridge, and I shit you not, the back of the fridge looked like it had been punched by Mike Tyson over and over again. The back of the fridge is all bashed in. And the Lowe's delivery guy was like, well, yeah, I see what you mean here, and I guess we'll just try again. That's what he said. And so we're on fridge number 3.
How did that happen?
I have no idea if they dropped it or if it got bounced around in the Lowe's truck, but it was just beat to shit on the other side. And we would have had to send it back anyway because that door on that fridge was all messed up as well. So fridges are having problems with the doors. If you look up online, you can. It's all over the place right now. I guess for some reason, manufacturing places are having trouble with the doors, the engineering of the doors, which is weird because we were fine for many years on it, and all of a sudden we're just having this lull. But yeah, we're on fridge 3. So maybe next week I'll update if we get the fridge or not. We're going on a week without a fridge. So yeah, it's been a tough scene. So you know what? I'm just going to say I'm sitting Lowe's, and I'm sitting their refrigerators and their shipping. They're struggling. They're on the struggle bus. And to wrap up the show here, my sleeper is the charity system. A lot of people don't know some of these facts about the charity system. So a factoid came out this morning, I believe, about Russell Wilson's charity, and how of every dollar donated to Russell Wilson's charity, which millions and millions of dollars have been donated to Russell Wilson's charity, only 24.3 cents of each dollar donated to Russell Wilson's charity actually goes to a charitable cause. So if you do the math here, that means 75% of your dollar that's donated to Russell Wilson's charity isn't actually going to the charitable cause. Now, in the comments and all around social media, this caused an outcry about how Russell Wilson is just ripping people off, which he is. Don't get me wrong, his charity is. But if you do a little soul searching and a little deeper diving, you will come to find that this is actually just almost all charities in the United States of America. This is how they all run. And it's just kind of something that isn't really talked about because charity is supposed to be a good thing. And we don't want to know how the other half lives of charity in terms of, well, actually the dollar that you're donating, most of it probably actually doesn't go to the charitable cause. Now, some of them out there are some like the Wounded Warrior Foundation, like for every dollar you donate, 85 cents of it is going to the troops. And the other is going to, you know, all the fees with it, the workers that work for them and whatnot. But 75%, you know, that is a pretty hefty amount of your dollar not going to a charitable cause. But as people should just do their research and find out, that is actually how most charities work. So that's why the charity system is my sleeper.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think there's operating costs. There's, I don't know if there's employee costs because I would imagine it's a non-for-profit. So, but it's not like Russell Wilson is pocketing this money.
No.
I mean, it's going towards stuff it's going towards like operating costs, fees, ship, you know, all that stuff. That it's going to. So I think that's the confusion. When people saw that only 24% was going to charitable causes, they're like, oh, Russell Wilson is, you know, he's taking millions of dollars away from the charity. And that's just simply not the case.
But,
you know,
also,
is the charity ripping people off? Maybe, but it's not him.
75% might not be just fees and employee volunteer work and whatever, shipping or whatever. Part of that there's a part of that might be being pocketed. And that's, like I said, that's just how the charity system works. It's kind of all under wraps, kind of just a non-talked about thing. Because charity, at the end of the day, it's still good. Yeah. But
I mean, I wouldn't imagine that someone of his stature would need to pocket some extra money.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Or would even want to ruin his reputation by doing that. So I find it hard to – I mean, it's certainly possible, but I find it hard to believe that would happen. And then finally, before we end the show here, it's almost at 2 hours. We should keep this under 2 hours here because the 2 hours is just a huge mile mark. So very quickly here, just to give our score predictions for the Super Bowl. I'll go first unless you want to, Cam.
You're good.
All right, so I have in a blowout, I actually wrote down the wrong score. That's not the score I wanted. I have 43-17 Eagles.
Is that a gun?
I think the Eagles are just going to run up the score over and over again. The Chiefs are going to get a late touchdown, maybe a late field goal too. 43-17. Ever since Super Bowl 51, when the Falcons blew the 28-3 lead, no Super Bowl with an odd number has been within 2 scores. So, excuse me. So just an interesting tidbit.
Wow, that is interesting. I on the other hand,
I said 2 scores. Then I meant 1 score.
Oh, okay.
I meant 1 score.
I on the other hand, and kind of sticking to my guns a little bit. Kind of how I've said this playoffs has gone. I think we're at a point in the season where the defenses, even though the Chiefs' run defense isn't the greatest and their secondary is young, you're still Mahomes, and you still have Mahomes, and I think it's actually going to be much different than his second Super Bowl appearance against Brady. I think they're going to have the ability to fight back because they've had that ability all year long, even without guys like Tyreek Hill. But as I alluded to in many of my props and in my analysis, I have the Eagles winning Super Bowl 57, 30-23. So 1-score game there, and a good game. So, yeah, but I have the Eagles. I think their roster, roster-wise, they overload the Chiefs this year. And they still have a good offense to keep up with Mahomes. And I think they've proven that they probably are the best defense, even maybe outsteaming the 49ers, which is pretty crazy to say. So that we're even at that point. So, yeah, mix of one of the best defenses in the NFL with a mix of one of the best offenses against the number one offense, and number one quarterback, but just not as strong as a defense. And going to be a great I think it might be a good game. I really hope it doesn't turn out the way Luke says, although that would be, if the Eagles score that many points, that might be fun. But I'd rather keep it close.
Like a Broncos scene.
Yeah, that would be a Broncos scene. So, Yeah. Hey, Bruno Mars, Broncos. So yeah, maybe
Yeah, true. Rihanna. Hey, that's what I said. Favorite halftime show since Bruno Mars. So I don't know. But anyways, thank you for everyone for listening. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube, go subscribe to the YouTube. I've been doing work to try and make those videos more appealing to the viewers recently. It seems to be working because we're getting more views on it, which is great. But and make sure if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you leave a review, or there's a question on the Spotify video. If you're listening to that, make sure you just reply to the question, give us some feedback, and hopefully you guys listen to the new ad at the beginning of the show. I should say, re-recorded it. Me and Cam both decided that the ad that we've been having played for like the last 9 months is super corny, so we went ahead and redid it. And then, yeah, that's about all the updates that we got. Show-wise, we'll be back next week with the Super Bowl recap and the coaching grades, the coaching hire grades. So we still have 2 teams that need to hire, so hopefully they get hired by then. But anyways, that does it for this week, episode 49. We'll be back with episode 50 next week. So huge, huge episode for the show and for the fans as well. So we'll see you then.